Good afternoon YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing my video on the assembly video of my Costco pool. I did it last year kind of, but didn't do a very good video, so I'm going to do a new one today. It normally sits around about here. I want to get it out, which is all parked down the side of the house down there. I want to drag it all out. But first things first, it's not too bad actually, the garden. First thing to do is just to have a good clear out of anything that's on the grass, as in tennis balls, dog toys, things like that. We haven't got a dog, so there'll definitely be no dog toys. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the tarpaulin, I'm going to lay it down on the area here. And the reason we do that is because it means any water that comes out of the pool, it doesn't soak into the ground beneath the pool. It tends to just run off. In our case, it slides a bit this way, it just runs down the side, and it keeps the area and the ground underneath the pool dry, to stop it also from becoming sodden from rain, splashing out of the pool water, and then potentially the arms of the pool will sink into the ground. But that helps that. So we're going to put down the tarpaulin. It's also good for when the kids are getting in and out of the pool. If the tarp is down, the tarp is easily to clean, so they're not going to be dragging grass from the ground into the pool as well. So the tarpaulin is easy to wash off daily. It also keeps your pool water clean. So first things first, let's get the pool out from down the side of the house, and we'll get the tarp laid out in a bit. Okay YouTubes, so I've managed to get it out. You can see there, I was quite organised putting it away. So inside this tarp, wrapped up, is the main membrane of the pool. So if you imagine the pool was sat on top of it, once it was collapsed, I folded it up and then wrapped it all up in the membrane that goes down on the ground. So keeping it away from, because it was left outside, I didn't put it in the garage. Whether it's a good thing or not, I don't know, but at least it keeps it dry, stops, I don't know, rodents and stuff getting into it. But it was inside the wheelbarrow, so I just dragged it out. It is quite heavy, so you might need two people to drag it out. But all I'm going to do now is tip it out in the middle and roll it all out. See you in a minute. Okay, there you go then. That's how it would have looked after collapsing it down last year. So you see the tarpaulin is big enough to take the size of the whole swimming pool once it's up, and it will protect the grass from becoming sodden. Don't get me wrong, the grass will die. I haven't mowed the lawn to try and give it a better chance of survival once we take the tarp back up closer to the end of the summer. But as you saw the grass before, you can see it had grown back after a year, so don't worry too much about the grass. But I wouldn't mow the lawn, because it's nice to have a reasonably soft surface for the pool to sit on, because there's no cushion in between the pool and the ground. It is just the tarp and the grass. Then location wise, this is where it was last year as well. What I would advise is, when you're doing the location, don't go near any trees. It could go sideways across there, but then it would be close to the landlines, and then you'd get crap falling off the trees. You don't want that, and you also want to be near to close to a power point, or within reach of a power point anyway. So I'll be taking power from the conservatory maybe, or maybe that power socket down there. It might be dead, I can't remember, but one way or another you want to be close to power supply, and away from any trees where stuff's going to fall off it. You don't want to contaminate the water. You want to keep it as clean as possible, because once you've filled this pool, you don't want to do it twice. And keep it as clean as you can for the season. So what I'm going to do now is just straighten out the tarp. I'm going to put some slabs down in the corners just to keep it down for now. And then we'll unroll the pool and see what sort of condition it's in after being outside for a year. See you in a bit. Okay then, there's my pool laid out. It's in reasonably pretty good shape. Didn't really see anything. It ponged a little bit, but it's been set outside for a year. So that's how it looks when it's laid out, and this is how you should lay it out. So once it's laid out on the ground, pull out your 3 tabs on each side for your U-braces, and make sure the orientation is correct. So whatever side you're using for service, in my case I'm using this side. There'll be a pump, a heater placed around here because I'm next to my power point. You also need to have your connections on that side as well, A and B. So that's connection A, that's connection B. Make sure that is on the same side as the orientation of your services. And that's all you need to think about for that part. Right, we're going to get into the build. I think first of all we have to put in the perimeter. So the perimeter bar, which comes in various bits, goes around the outside. You slot that in place, and I think then you connect the U-braces, and yeah, we'll go from there. See you in 2. Okay, I stored these well before I put them away, and just so you can see, there are only I think 4 types of pole. So you've got these ones here, which have got one open end and a tapered end. These ones here, type G's, they've got the holes for the U-braces. Type A's have also got the holes for the U-braces, like that. So you can see there's 6 poles with holes in them, so you know that they all relate to those 6 U-braces. Type C's, which have got tapered both ends with clips, and this lot here make up the circular frame that goes around the top of the pool there, and then the U-braces slot in the side into the holes. Top tip, when you are manoeuvring these about, don't drop them, because they're made of steel, but very thin steel. If you buckle the ends of the pipe, they won't slot in right. I've dropped a couple already, and I'm going to have to bend them back out again. But yeah, just bear that in mind when you're doing that. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so that's my first pole in. It comes in 3 parts. I'll show you the makeup of that in a second, but it's best to make it up on the ground and then slide it in at whatever end you want, and just make sure your 6 holes line up with your 6 holes on the pole. So the makeup of that pole, and there's 2 poles to go in total, is 2 A's, which is the A's are the ones with the 2 tapered ends, and 1 G, which has no tapered ends on the G. So that's your G. The G goes in the middle, and the 2 A's go either side of the G, and they just clip in place like that. So that's your A on one end, into the G, and then A out the other end. And then you take that pole any way round and slide it in to the pocket, and there's 2 of those. Just bear in mind, I'm doing this on my own, so it doesn't necessarily need 2 people. Once you're at this point, you probably would need 2 people to hump the main pool around, but generally once you've got it in position like this, you can pretty much do it with a one man. So single dads out there, or single mums, click and subscribe, and this is for you if you want. Stay tuned. Okay, more stuff we got out now. Just so you know, I've been storing my stuff in these clever little boxes to keep them nice and tidy and out of the way. So in one of the boxes we've got out these. Now you might be wondering how you're going to make a round pool with only straight poles. Well, this is how it's done with these sort of, I don't know, 15-degree T-pieces. So the angle that they sit at is what makes the oval of the pull. And we're going to get into that now and how they go together. As you can see, some are part E's, some are part F's, and you can see there isn't much difference other than the holes to slots. Some have got them the other way around, so just bear that in mind. They're not the same, and we'll go through what the difference is and where they go now in a minute. Okay, so the first of the installation of the E's and the F's 15-degree T-pieces, which ones go where. So in total there are 4 F's, and I think there's 8 E's. Now these poles here installed have 2 ends each, which equals 4. So think of it like that. The F's are the ones with the slots. There's 4 of those. They have to go on the ends of these 4 poles. And the reason they have the slots is because this pole may need to maneuver, because it needs to line up with the holes in the slot for the U-braces to go in. So it gives you a slot rather than a hole, so it's got a little bit of room to move the pole. So we'll get those installed now. So you can see there the F's have been installed, and it starts to take shape of the curvature of the pull as it comes to the oval end. And everything else past this point is T-piece E, which are then connected together using all the pole C's, these ones here. So there's 8 T-pieces and 8 poles, and then you can go around, finish off the oval, and then you're ready for the U-braces in a minute. Okay then, that's your framing for one end. See there as you go around, same as the long pole, you slot it into the slots on the side of the main pull bed. So yeah, point to note on that one, remember, 2 types of T-pieces, E's and F's. E's go around the outside, F's join on to the long poles. Can't really go far wrong after that. And remember to slot it into the things. I made that mistake already. Right, I'm going to get on, finish the other end, and just to note, the hardest part of putting the frame together is when you get to the last join at the second end, because everything sort of comes under tension. So you've got to gurn it in a little bit. It's not a massive gurn, but you've got to gurn it in a minute. And there we have it. So that's all the frame in. It wasn't too much of a gurn to get it in there, but the last joint is a bit tricky. You haven't got to work out to do this. You haven't got to go down the gym or anything, but you do have to push it around to get it in. So there we are. The main frame is in place, and now we're going to do the U-braces. Stay tuned. Okay then, that's all your U-braces in, slotted in, and they've all got the little white caps on them. Very important they are, and we'll come to that later. 6 U-braces in place, and now we're going to put the upright stilts, which go in 5 ends. The 5 T-pieces on each end, so 10 in total, which are these poles here. They're not labelled, I don't know why, but on the end of each one of those you have a spreader which will go on the end, and we'll also talk about that later as well. There we go, that's one end in. If you are on your own again, single mums and single dads out there, if you're doing it on your own, it's easier to start with the 2 corners, that one and that one, put those in first, and then the 3 at the front go in a lot easier. If you're not on your own, then yeah, get your partner to do it. I asked my wife, but she wasn't interested, so I'm on my jack. I'm not single though, not yet, in a bit. Okay then, so that's my uprights in place. They're all the same. You see we've got the little pads on the feet. They're into the T-pieces, and they're also between the liner and the strap. Make sure you do that. If you fill this pull Without that, you will have to empty it again. Okay, now the U-braces. Okay, there we go. That is the pool frame and liner in place. Oh, all the uprights are in place. All the U-braces are in place. Now the U-braces, once you've got the ends in, those little white caps on the end, they just slot inside the holes. Nice and simple. All we're going to do now is put A and B plugs in place and shut the hose pipe in. As you can see, the pool's a little bit minging. Didn't clean it the best I could have done. So I'm going to start filling it with water, give it a bit of a wash out, a rinse down, and start spreading the bottom out, because it's easier to spread the bottom out once there's a bit of water in there. Now with the 15-metre hose of about a bar, maybe 2 bar pressure, this takes a good 2 days to fill, so you can leave this filling overnight depending on how much pressure you get from your mains water supply. Now once or when this starts filling, one thing we do, or we have learnt to do, which is a good idea, depending on what ground you're on, but even this ground is fairly solid, it's almost clay. We put underneath the U-braces and the uprights small 400mm slabs, just to spread the weight again, to help it prevent from sinking and sagging. Because if it starts sagging, and you will see it sag, the pool will start to fall over on one side. So that's a good idea to do that. So final sort of top tips: remember to put the uprights in between the band and the pool liner. E's and F's on your T's. The F's connect to the main long straight, and the E's go around the pool to make the oval, and that's the same on both ends. Other than that, that's really the main things to remember. And then just go around and check it once more before you start filling it. You don't want to fill this pool twice. Okay, catch me in a minute. Okie doke YouTube, there we go. So you see under the uprights I've put the little slabs to spread the weight, and under the U-braces I've put there is a slab under there, but I put the rubber mat in to protect the membrane of the pool. It is just plastic. When kids are jumping in and out of the pool, you think you've got, what is it, 19 by 8 squared, cubed by itself. You've got a good 24.5 tons of water moving around, so the pool will move. Now they don't matter because they've got nylon feet on the bottom of them, and the tarpaulin doesn't matter either. But that is a strap which is required to take the weight of the pool. So if that was to break, the pool would be knackered. So you've got to protect that strap. And just to show you, it's not fragile, but you know, it's not made of carbon fibre. This is where the filter goes. It clamps onto here, and over time it was rubbing like that, and after a little while you could see that it was starting to wear down on the membrane. So I've just put some tape over it to protect it, but that's because, again, of the movement of the water. So when you jump in and out of it, everything's going to move a little bit. So just do these little tricks. You don't get any of these slabs with it, you have to buy them yourself, and these rubber mats are only cheap off of eBay or something. But you can see there we're starting to fill up, and we're almost at the point already where I'm going to start kicking the bottom of the pool out just to get the creases out, because there's nothing worse than a crease in the bottom of the pool. So we want it to be nice and flat, or as flat as we can be. We are on a piece of grass at the end of the day, but you want it nice and flat. I was thinking of pressure washing it, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to let the pool kind of fill up, and then I'm going to clean it in situ and then let the filter do its job. I've got a few bits and bobs that I can do with that, but I will next show you, once it's full, the setup. Again, if you haven't seen my other YouTube videos, the setup of the filter, the heater, and the float filter as well. And see you in a minute. Okie doke. I've been in the pool now and I've given it a bit of a kick out to sort of smooth off the bottom of the pool. It's not too bad. You can kick it out from inside or you can pull it on the outside, whatever's easiest for you. Another top tip, if you're, and you will be using chlorine on this, if you're using chlorine tablets, don't throw them in the pool. Use the skimmer or the float, because if you chuck them in the pool you get the bleaching of the bottom of the pool. You see the different areas, that's from the chlorine tablets sitting at the bottom of the pool. Okay, be back in a minute once it's full. Okay then, we've been filling up now for about, say, 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, and we're probably, I don't know, 1/10 of the way full. So maybe by tomorrow morning we might be about 3/4. It's important that when you do, or when you are filling it up, to come out every now and again and just check on your poles, check that they're straight, go round, put them into place, pull them, either push them left, right, forward or backwards, try and keep them straight. It's important. You'll also notice that the pool starts to bow inwards as it fills. Just ignore that, it will straighten out as it fills up. Alright, in a bit. Okay then, been on now for about probably 18 hours, and I would say we are 3/4 of the way full, half to 3/4. So I'm going to go to work, and hopefully when I get back we'll be ready to connect up the pump. See you in a couple of hours. Okay, here we are now with the pool full up. You see there the bow in the pool has gone now. If you imagine before it sort of bowed inwards, well, now with the pool full, it pushes the bars out. It can go a little bit more. You can take it all the way up to the edge of the liner as it meets the poles, but looks like that side is out of level to that side, because that's a lot higher. It's got about 1 inch left to go, maybe 1.5 inches, and it's got probably a good 3 inches, so it's not as level as it could be. So you can only take it really to the level of the lowest point, which in this case it would probably reach the height of that side first. But if you go too high with it, eventually the water will get out, because when you're jumping in and out of it, the water will move around and it will spill out of the holes. So anyway, yeah, the pool is still dirty. I've not cleaned it yet, but this is a filter setup video now. Once you've done all this and the pool is full of water, you can go ahead and set up your pump. So this is the pump that comes with the pool. I know there are some variants for different pools. It's a fairly simple procedure to set it up. It doesn't come in many parts, so you've got the lid, the pump itself and the bucket, and with that you get various seals that go with it. There's a seal there that comes with it, there's a couple of other seals, there's another seal here which goes on the bucket lid, and then you've got the C-clips, these two here and these two here, which once it's together it clamps it down. Now one thing that you've got to do with the pump is you've got to fill this pump here, or the bucket of the pump, with filter sand, swimming pool filter sand. You can buy it pretty much anywhere, Amazon, eBay, you'll find it. It's not overly expensive, but you have to fill it with that sand, and that's what it's used for water filtration. We'll go through that in a bit, but it's fairly straightforward. I mean, you just literally dump the water around the pole. This is a removable pipe, so before you fill up the sand, you've got to put that in first, because you don't want any filter in the base of the pump. So then the location of the pump has got to sit between point A and point B. Point A is the flow, point B is the return. So the water comes out of B into the pump, through the filter and out of the pump. And on the pump itself you can see it will tell you there, you see there, that's point B. So then point A is one of these, that's D, A, C. I think it's the bottom one there, but we'll go through that in a second with all the setup and where the hoses go. Because going into this pump or going into this setup, we've also got the heater, which doesn't come with this pool, you have to buy it separately. And I've also got a skimmer as well, so where the water would normally come in through the return, if you can see it there through that hole there, on the normal installation you just install this in the pool, but instead of doing that, we're going to put the return water through this contraption. So the hose goes into this, into the bottom of the skimmer, and then the skimmer sits on the edge of the pool and then bobs up and down like a skimmer does and takes any surface debris from the pool. And that's how I filter the water. So I'm going to set it all up and then we'll go through how it's going to look and how it's all set up in the next bit. Alright, in a minute. Okay then, so order of march for doing this job is, first off, set your pump up. Grab your sand, your swimming pool sand once you've got that, and fill your bucket up. And I take it to about an inch below the top line there. Doesn't have to be level or anything like that, but yeah, you put your hose in the top, fill up with sand, put in your seal, which goes around the perimeter there, and then plonk on your lid. Okay, and then you take your C-clip, which is the big grey one there, using a Phillips screwdriver, just fit it to the outside. Okay, your lid's on now. C-clip around the outside. Next thing, put your seal in, rubber seal there that goes between the bucket and the pump, the valve, sorry, and that sits on the top. And then you have another C-clip there, which does exactly the same, goes around and clamps it down. Okay, so the first hose we're going to put in is the pump A, which you can see everything's labelled up. You see there, A goes to A on the pool, which is the discharge from the pump to the pool. Sorry, from the filter to the pool. Now again, something else that doesn't come with the pool is the heater, which is an Intex 2 kilowatt heater, because you do need to heat this pool to a certain degree anyway. So the way I do it is I put the heater on the flow, so it comes out of the pump, filtered into the heater, out of the heater, and then into the pool. So the way to do that, it's exactly the same as if you were fitting it without the heater. You're just putting the pump in line of that. So it's fairly straightforward. When you are connecting up your hoses to the filter, don't forget you've got a rubber seal hose. Take them out when you're storing it, put them somewhere safe, because if you lose those, it's a game changer. As everything is, any parts of this pump, if you lose it, then it's game over. You've got to find spares for it, especially things like screws. These screws here, if you lose one of those and you can't clamp it down, you're in trouble. So yeah, just be mindful of those. And then with one of these, which is your hose connector, onto your pump. Don't go mad, but keep it tight. And for this one, I'm going to use a hose or two hoses into the filter, into the heater, and out again into pump A, into point A. 2 sec. And there it is. So point A into the heater, out of the heater, and that will eventually go into point A there. But that's the last thing you do, is connect it to the pool, because there's a few things we need to do with the pump before we do all of this stuff. So this is just a setup. The last thing we're going to do is connect it to the pool. So now let's get on and do the flow or the suction to the filter. Okay, so this is point B, the suction of the filter. This comes, or will be, already assembled if you've just taken it out. If it's not, it's new, then it may not be, and straight out of the box I don't think it was there. So you can undo this, and in here you've got your net filter. So just check before you connect it up it is clean. Mine is fairly clean, and it's ready to go. So screw that back on. You notice there is a seal in there, it's already in, you haven't got to put it in yourself. Screw that back on, and then we're simply going to connect the hose to B point, and then again we won't be connected to the pool just yet, because we've got a few things that we need to do. So let's get that connected. Okay, now the last hose to go in is hose C, which is this one here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, see there. Same connection as the others, and it goes down to this point here, C, and it just pushes onto there. And that is just a flushing hose when you're flushing, cleaning out the sand, which you have to do every now and again, but we'll go through how that works in a minute. Another point to note is when you're putting your hoses on, if it's brand new it's not going to be a massive issue, but these rubber seals, I left these in situ when I packed it away. They're in good condition, but when you're putting them on, just be mindful that the seal stays in place. When you push them on, they can come out and sort of roll like that does, see that, and potentially break. So just be mindful of that. But they're fairly good, they're fairly robust, so just make sure they're in place, and when you push the hose on they stay in place. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on the return from the pool to the filter. And as I said before, we're not using this bit, but you can use that bit. Nothing wrong with using that. I've had other Intex pools before, and these parts come with them in some cases, not with this pool, but the skimmer is a great thing to have. If you haven't got one, get one. It's handy to have, especially for chlorinating the pool as well. You can drop your chlorine tablets into this and it will distribute them without going through the dropping them in the pool, or having the skimmer going the float going around the pool when the kids are in it. So this way it does everything in one. So I'm going to put this together, put that in place, and you see how that sits, and connect it to the filter. So this is the jet that comes with this pool, and that just sits on the inside of the pool at point A, where the water flows out of the filter or the heater, whichever one you've got, and back into the pool. So that just goes on the other sides of there, slides through the hole, and then hose B goes onto the back of that. Easy peasy. Okay, there's my floater in place. You see there, hose there comes off the bottom of the skimmer and then into the pool, out of the pool, down the hose and into B, I believe. I think it's B. Yeah, into B. So it'll come into here, through the filter, and then back out into my heater. So now we're going to connect that to point A. Okay, so that's the pump fully installed and now live to the water side. It's not live to power yet. I'm going to go through that in a second. But just to reiterate a few things, all of the connections on the pump are labelled A, B, C, D. Point A goes to point A, point B goes to point B on the filter. If you are putting a heater in, you can put it on the return or you can put it on the flow. Doesn't really make a lot of difference. It's all coming from the pool, it's all going back to the pool, whether you filter the water before the pump. I suppose if you filter it, if you put it after the filter, I guess you've got less chance of the pump, the heater becoming dirty, I guess, rather than taking dirty water through your heater then into your filter. But I don't know how, there's no filter on this, so if it gets blocked up, I don't know what to do anyway, so probably have to take it apart, which I'll probably look into that and sort of figure out if there is a serviceable, there must be something to service on it, I don't know, we'll see. Excuse the mess, by the way. But yeah, then the owner of the hose, once you've done A and B hose, the owner of the hose then is your C hose, which interconnects between the top and the bottom of the pump. So you do get with it a couple of short hoses, and that's what they're for. And then the only connection, which you're probably wondering what it does, is, if you haven't done it already, is this connection here. I haven't got the connector for it, I don't know why, probably lost it, but all this is for is dumping dirty water. So when you open this up, it just flows onto the floor. It does come with another connector where you can add a hose to it and have the hose go to a drain, maybe, if you really want to. But that's what that's for, and we'll go through that next in the pre-start up of the filter. And that's that, so stay tuned. Okay, first things first, from new installation or not too recent use, certainly with a fresh batch of sand, if you just put it in your filter, you've got to carry out a backwash. All the backwash does is just clean the sand with the pool water to a point where it can then be used to filter. There's no point in running water through a dirty filter or a dirty sand. So all you do is you take your valve, turn it around to the arrows that point left, connect your power and run the pump for about 5 minutes, and what happens is the water will come out of here, and you'll see straight away what I mean. The water will be like a yellowy colour. Once that water is clean, or after 3 to 5 minutes, just turn the pump off and put it back to the X. Stay tuned. In fact, I'll do it now. So open it up and turn it on. Don't know if you can see it on camera, but the water's got like a yellowy tint to it. If I had a hose connected to this, it might be easier to see, because it would go through the hose and make it look yellow. But we'll let that run for a couple of minutes and then catch you back in a minute. Okay, so we've been running now for enough time to get clear water coming out. So all you do now is turn off the pump, like that, turn it round to rinse, and turn the pump back on and leave it for another minute. In a minute. Okay, once that's done, you then turn the pump off and put it back to close. We are now ready to start the pump running in real time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect up my heater, and then we'll go through the run procedure, or how to start the pump or the filter running from there in a minute. Okay, that's everything set up and running now. So you can see once you're ready to go, you just put it in the play position and turn it on. It'll already be ready to go and purged. You can see with my skimmer, you see how that works there. It just bobs up and down, takes any crap off the surface of the water, which is good. And then the discharge down there, which is going through the heater. Now about the heater, this doesn't come with the pool, but I would recommend using one. It's 2 kilowatt one. It does have a safety switch on it, so if there's no flow from the filter pump, the heater does turn off, so it can't overheat. But yeah, this will need to be on now for probably a couple of days till we're temperature ready. But with your pool, you do get one of these, which is your temperature sensor. You can just chuck that in the pool and then check it daily. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the brush, give it a good sweep, because I have also got one of these, the Intex pool cleaner, and I'll go around the pool and give it a hoover, and then I'll put the cover on and leave it to heat up and filter itself. Happy days. So just a final sort of part to the video, just a few hints and tips. We said at the start, location of the pool, be close to your services. My 2 plug tops are in there. It's handy to have. You don't want to have to run extension leads around the pool. Anywhere there's a potential for water getting on live components is a no-no. So you don't want to have all of this gear on the other side of the pool and then running cables around the pool. Keep your service side of the pool close to electrical outlets, so you're close to it. I mean, the kids won't be running down here. They'll be staying on this side, at this end of the pool, and around that side of the garden, so they shouldn't need to come down here. They probably will, and they'll probably kick everything over, but that's the point, that's the idea. That's why I said to orientate your pool in accordance with the service side. The ladder, I can't do an assembly video on the ladder because I never took it down, but that is the Intex ladder. It just drops in the end of the pool, and that's their access in and out. And what I do down here, I put like one of these plastic tubs. I'll fill it full of water and I'll sit the ladder in the bottom of it, so that they wash their feet as they're going in, because it is important to keep the water clean, or as clean as you can, just to not limit the use, but you don't want to overuse the filter. You don't have to change the sand mid-season. You should quite easily be able to get a full season out of, depending on where you are and what your seasons are, but in the UK this won't be up for any longer than a couple of months. At the moment we've had a late summer, so the filter sand in there should be good for the whole period. But yeah, just be mindful of that. Keep the water as clean as you can. Keep it chlorinated, because it will need to be, and also keep it covered up when you're not using it, because birds will go in it, and they just bring all kinds of nasties with them. So keep it chlorinated, keep it covered up, and have a good summer. See you in a bit.